Anyway, since last time we had a bit of a choking on the Sicilians, I thought that I would give you a bit of a sort of refresh your mind,
Yep,
if you will. So against Najdorf and Schöningen, we keep on insisting on this beautiful English attack.
Yep.
Queen e2, knight c6, f3, bishop e7, and g4. So this is one thing I told you, I think, that I actually prefer to play g4 before we castling, because in a number of variations, it's very annoying for black that we are already floating g5. But
Yep.
most of the times it actually doesn't matter. Bishop takes. Now, in this case, having moved the queen already to d2, it's better to take with the bishop.
Okay.
Okay, because essentially what it all comes down to is that the bishop stands better on d4 than on e3. Whereas the same can't necessarily be said about the queen. But in the game where you mess this up a little bit, you actually could have gone from d1 right away to d4, allowing castling, whereas this has already happened. And so now it's a simple piece improvement, and e5 is very rarely a good idea in these structures. b5, g5, back, h4. So far so good. And the most stock standard variation here is bishop b7.
Okay.
Okay, the idea is that now after b4, knight a5, a4, bishop c6 is very disturbing, and so I would have to regroup the knight this way, and normally what happens is that if we play carelessly, then this can cause a lot of trouble to us. And they crack the center open before we get to hit, and actually knight e5 is also a disturbing move here because it hits here and here at the same time. And you never ever want to enter the structure like this.
Yeah.
Because with these two files open now, there are lots of opportunities for black to swap. The double pawns are irrelevant, the knight squares are taken away from you, and our attack has been halted dramatically. The pawn is stuck, consequently the bishop can't attack, and so on. So, the bottom line is that this is one of those very few, very rare and extreme cases where we actually get to play a3.
Okay.
In order to hold b4.
Right.
Alright? Because now it takes for black substantial preparation to do that. Whereas in normal cases, you could easily back up b4, but because of the layout of the black pieces now, I can't really chuck anything on the b file, and I don't have a knight on c6 to support b4, so it's actually very difficult to back up b4.
Yep.
So he's going for the stock standard plan with knight c4. What do you think we should do here?
He's also hitting the f pawn, right?
That's correct.
So,
Not only that, but f4 would be super logical, but that would allow this.
yeah.
And that spells disaster, so we can't allow that.
Yeah, so maybe this is a bit wacky, but how about rook to h3?
Rook h3 is not necessarily too bad. Give me more. Give me some other ideas.
Other ideas, okay.
Excuse me. A stock standard move, Domenic, in these English attack lines when you are under attack here is to swing the queen across here. Because what it does is that it steps out of this tempo.
Yep.
As well as occasionally either attacks a piece on b6 or floats the idea of putting something on b6. It also covers f3, so in general it's a good move. In this particular position, however, white opted for queen e3.
Okay.
The reason why this one was played instead of queen f2 is because after knight c4, bishop takes, rook takes, with a queen on f2, occasionally they have the opportunity to play e5, forcing the bishop away and then sack. And now that's covered by a queen.
Okay.
Okay? Alright, so rook g1. Obviously we couldn't play h5 because g5 is hanging. So we needed to give a backup. But this move actually serves another purpose, which is quite tricky to see. Please don't look on the right side. Bishop a8 was played. The idea behind bishop a8, it looks very weird, is that you want to free up the b file entirely. So that either queen b8, b4, or b4 right away, and then the rook is supporting it. So Yeah, that's the main concept. By the way, another thing that I forgot to mention, that the advantage of removing the queen from the d file is that now there is a pin here and you're actually threatening to take that knight for free, and in some occasions you can use this pin for a variety of other motives. Okay, let's continue the attack. What is the stock standard move here for white? H5, well said, good. Yep.
I was thinking, could you actually play G6 straight away? But I don't think you can.
Actually, I'm so glad that you stopped for that. It is actually also stock standard motif. The reason why... Actually, no, I can't even say that. I wanted to say that normally it's more typical with the rook on h1. But actually it's good with rook on g1 too, because after takes h5 I can't take because it hangs. But g5 is a little bit disturbing.
And is it getting too much to then play f4?
No, but the problem is that with f4 what you're going to achieve is that you're going to take me here next, which is blocking off the file that you wanted to crack open. I'm not saying it's not good, because I really do like what we're doing here, and I think we are causing substantial damage. In fact, I might actually consider this as black here.
Yeah.
Maybe not, I don't know. It might be a little bit too speculative. Maybe if queen takes, then it's still made there, and bishop f6 probably can be met by e5. Yeah, it's a little bit messy. I quite like the idea. Okay, so good on you. So actually g6 h5 is just as stock standard as the h5 and then g6 IDs. So cool, h5 was played. Queen b8. Now this is definitely putting on some pressure with b4, and in this particular position there is a beautiful move that we almost always use in this line when the knights are gone and the bishop is on this diagonal. Let's try to figure out what it is. By the way, just so that we are in the clear, the most logical move by looks of things is g6, yeah? What do you think black would do?
I think that black would... Oh. He's got a couple of options to defend, but one would just be like playing f6.
f6. There?
Yeah.
That spells disaster with capital D. If I have to play f6 Domenic at any stage in any Sicilian where I'm getting attacked on the king side, it means I'm dead. Like right now after h6, we can just shut down the business. So okay, I just gave away the correct move, but going back to g6, we need to find a correct defending move. Because if you don't see how they defend, that means you don't, yeah?
h6, looking it up, right?
h6 is a tad bit better, but it still leads to an auto loss.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still not good enough, but we're getting closer.
Really, it looks, g6 to me looks really powerful.
Right, so I would really like to insist on putting you to the test to try to...
Yeah, okay, please.
Okay, so you're black now. Bad luck, we swapped colors.
Yeah. I really don't like that bishop staring down at me.
Oh, that's a good start.
Yeah, but...
Well, how can we...
Well, I was looking at e5.
Sorry?
E5 planting the bishop, but then...
But then what?
Pawn takes... which way?
You tell me, you are white now. Well, you are both, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I guess taking on h7.
Yeah, f7 is very counterproductive because it brings an extra defender in. Now, what you need to know, Domenic, here is that I can do one of two things. I can actually come here.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
But even king takes is playable because you can patch up the g-file's threats by playing bishop f6. Okay, so even if you were able to bring a queen across here, say now, bishop f6 would comfortably cover all the threats for the time being. Okay,
mm.
probably a tad bit safer even is king here. To tuck behind the white pawns, because anytime they push, you push through, and it's getting gradually worse for white instead of better.
This is winning for black because the bishop's trapped, isn't it?
Well, it can move away, but essentially what happened was that the attention shifted away from my king onto what's happening in the center, and in general your attack ran out of steam. So in this position, g6 is premature because of e5, and in fact e5 is a floating threat, and bishop f6 addresses it in a spectacular manner.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, and that's another great benefit, by the way, of putting the rook on g1.
So, rook on g1, is that also kind of like a stock standard plan for attack?
Not necessarily, no. It's more typical of this line than in general, because normally what you want to do is to keep it here, play the g6 h5 thing. I mean, imagine here g6 takes h5. How beautiful it would be if they push. Then the main difference is that after h6 they can't push this one through as well, which they would love to do, because then it's mate.
Yeah.
Alright, so if it's not made, then pushing through is perfectly fine, because then after check, you tuck the king away and you're safe. So I wouldn't say that rook g1 is stock standard in this variation, I would rather say it's not. But in this particular line, where they play knight c6, knight d4, and they force your bishop onto d4, as you can see, it is super duper handy.
Yeah.
Okay, bishop d8. Well, it's a sad necessity, really.
Yeah.
When that's the best you can do. Takes, and g6 now. And it's very clear that we managed to crack them there before they damaged us here.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the game, but it definitely does look really promising.
Is this a famous game that you're showing me?
No, it is one of the analysis lines from one of my opening files. Like, I've got approximately 20 files just on this Scheveningen attack. Probably more than that, actually. So I just picked one out of random to give you a bit of a
Alright, thank you.
feel for it. But by no means is it exclusive or anything like that. Right. The other thing that I desperately wanted to show you was the Khan. And for that, I'm bringing up one of my favorite books, Experts vs. Sicilian. Sadly, it doesn't cover every single line that we discussed, because it recommends other lines in a variety of Sicilian scenarios, but it's still a great book. I really hate this thing that Lichess is doing to me, but whatever. So, remember that I told you that this is pretty much one of the only lines where we have to tread carefully and normally play very different moves from what we normally do. Okay, so this is where black normally holds d6 back for a long while. And consequently, our plans need to be adjusted. So I'm going to show you a couple of lines and variations, but probably more so just simple games that show the direction of which way we are headed with this whole scenario. So, black has got two main moves here. One of them is b5, the other one is queen c7. b5 is the more ambitious. I'm going to show you queen c7 first, because motives-wise, this is going to be very similar. Bishop d3, almost exclusively the bishop comes here. Knight f6, castles here, and black played bishop c5. So this is a very ambitious way to play it, by developing the bishop here. Often you find that the bishop just goes to e7. Okay, bishop c5. Knight b3. We drop back to chase the bishop one way or another. It's a bit of a sad necessity, but we have to do that. Bishop e7 and f4. Already threatening with e5. d6 was forced, so now we go back into Scheveningen structure, and we need to know these structures at least a little bit. What do you think black's setup is going to look like in the next few moves?
I presume he's going to castle kingside.
Yeah, that's... Where do these two guys go?
Knight go to c6 and bishop d7, I guess.
You guess the knight potentially right. You definitely guess the bishop wrong.
Yeah, of course. He's gonna expand with b5.
That's right. So the top priority is to play b5 and bishop b7. So remember this move. Okay, it clamps down on b5. It can never happen now. And the best they can do is to play b6, which is far more passive, and basically doesn't allow your opponent to play b5 and then hassle your knight.
So would you mind going back a sec to move 6 after they play knight f6? Is there a reason why we're castling so early?
Yes, there is, and that's a good question. The main reason is that we can't do anything better. It is as simple as that. Because depending on what they do, this bishop may develop here, or here, or here.
Okay.
And because of they haven't chosen their setup yet, we don't know where it's gonna stand best, but we do know that exclusively we want to castle here.
Okay.
Okay. This is a very elastic setup for black. They can do a lot of things with it. They can transpose it into Scheveningen, but even with that, they can transpose it into a knight c6 type or a knight d7 type. They can play it very Paulsen-like by bringing the bishop out and then dropping it back here, or they can bring the bishop out and then drop it back there. All of these require a different approach from you.
Okay.
So we have to stick with the stock standard moves for the time being, so that we can execute our plans accordingly. But I would say that from here on, almost exclusively, you will put bishop here, queen here, rook here, to float e5. Or the idea of. Which is something I already told you in our last lesson, that we tend not to put the bishop on e3.
Okay.
This was a discovery of the late 90s or early 90s, I would rather say, that they started to figure out that despite of the fact that the bishop on e3 seems to be far more active, covering this whole diagonal, it actually is in the way of the file and of the heavies on the b file. Okay, b6. And this is where I really like what's happening in this game, because white, who could have actually played bishop d2, queen e2, and blah blah blah, went for the neck right away. And this is the Sicilian approach that I really do like, that you go for the kill from the get-go. And in this sense, b6 is very provocative, because after e5 we also managed to open up this diagonal onto them, so we likely will be able to play a couple of moves with extra tempos. Okay. Actually, they didn't take it. I want to show you what happens. Take. Queen takes. What do you think white should do here?
The queen is like, maybe you could play bishop to f4, just gaining a tempo, developing and attacking the queen.
It's 100% no-brainer. There's no other way. It's impossible that there would be a better move than that. Okay, here, and now we have got a forced win.
Wow.
By which I mean, if we win some material, I'm happy.
Queen is almost trapped.
Almost. You actually won't be able to trap it, but you will be able to do major damage.
I don't want to trade queens.
No, definitely not.
If I play bishop e2, he can just play queen g6, and I don't see what to do after that. Bishop e2, queen g6, and then bishop. Oh no, hang on.
Oh yes.
Yes, and then bishop to f3, maybe attacking the rook.
Very good, Dominic. Very good. So remember, I told you about this. And the rook can't move because this is hanging. That's the end of the game. A beautiful, stellar example about how and when to crack a position open in order to catch our opponent with their pants down. Beautiful example. Now, none of it is 100% forced, because in this position they can play knight f d7 as well as take, and then knight f d7. The problem with this compared to this is obvious, and that is that the f file is going to be open. So, take, knight f d7. How can we capitalize on the f file being open, Dominic, to further our attack?
Queen f3. Attack.
Very good. Queen f3.
Yeah. and f7.
So they castle, and we can't take this, Domenic, sadly. I guess we saw.
Yeah, bishop,
I
bishop
guess we
d7.
saw that.
Bishop is. Have we got anything on h7 here? Bishop h7.
I'm very glad that you brought that up, but it's not ripe yet.
Not right.
No, it's not ready for that kind of kill, especially not in the light of black being able to bring one of those two guys into the defense that way. So we have to be patient. But that doesn't mean that we stop the attack. It means that we attack with care. Queen h3, an outstanding move. Now after h6, give me a quick win.
Quick win.
Quicker than that.
Bishop takes h6.
Thank you. We're not even going to analyze that. And after g6, there is an absolutely stunning way to finish it off. Bishop h6. Yep. Please note that against these moves, if I was black, I would take this in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even look at moving this rook.
Yep.
And I tell you why not. Because it basically just follows what white wants to do, which is to keep on bringing more and more pieces into the attack. And number two, because it fatally weakens f7. And after knight takes, bishop takes, it is not an easy task to win. Okay, if the bishop regroups here and the knight comes here, I would begin to feel like I would much rather be black. But actually knight e4 seems to arrive on f6 before black can get their stuff together. So yeah, but anyway, the main line and the main point I wanted to show you is that after rook e8, we have got an incredibly beautiful winning move.
Is it? I haven't calculated this, but rook takes f7.
It has something to do with rook f7. The problem is that if you take, I'll just take you back.
And the other rook coming in is too slow, I guess.
Well, let's calculate together. So if rook takes, king takes, rook check, king here, takes here, queen f7, mate is threatened. This looks deadly.
Yep.
But is it deadly? We have got this check here.
Yep.
And then we have got this take here. And I patched up the mate, and I guarded that too.
Yeah.
It still feels like super good for white, but let's see if we've got more. Plus, yeah. The thing is, Domenic, that it would be brilliant if we didn't have this bishop on the board at all.
Okay.
Because then takes could be followed by take here, followed by forced mate.
Yep.
And so the merciless computer found this move.
Yeah. I wouldn't even look at that move. Like.
Admittedly, even the guy who wrote the article said that actually this move was found by the computer while he was cooking his lunch.
Okay. Yep.
Not bad. Not bad, I have to say. Not bad at all. I am not even sure, by the way, because they don't discuss the lines any further, how it exactly wins. Because after 95, I am a bit struggling, so I would go for take, check. Sorry, takes here. Now there is always an emergency exit to take that, but that's not the path I want to take. I want to take this, and after queen here, I want to play. Actually, they're both very tempting.
Yeah.
Actually, I reckon this one is the clearest win. Here, takes, 94, check. King must go back, and knight check.
That's pretty tricky.
Even here, after king f8, I haven't won enough material, though. Okay, what am I missing here? Let's go back for a second. Okay, so alternatively, we could play bishop g6 check first. Yeah, okay, this is obviously far better. Sorry. And the king must go back. Now, I could already take to regain material, but that would be lame. So, check here.
If it's a computer line, it could just be gain material with an advantage or something.
Yes, but I'm too vain to look it up.
Yeah.
Plus, I have a feeling that I'm missing something here-ish. Wow, okay. Well, There is definitely fireworks here, and there is definitely a win here. I mean, this is 100% win. Take with the 2 pass pawns, but I'm a bit killing myself for not being able to find a four's mate here. Maybe there isn't one. I don't know. It's a hard call.
But it is just 2 pawns up.
Yeah, it's solidly is 2 pawns up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho, yeah, Bishop G7 is a hugely entertaining and very spectacular variation here.
Yeah.
That I really do like. Okay, let's leave it at that. So, moving back, after e5, no, go back, please, thank you. And queen f3, knight takes e5 is a possibility. What do we do now? We take, and after bishop b7, there is a beautiful tactical resource here to save our queen. Let's see if we can find that.
Okay.
It's a beauty.
Okay, so I'm looking at bishop b5 check, a takes b, and then knight to b. Yeah, that one.
You are a legend, Dominic, or you are on fire, or both.
Bit of luck for that one, I guess. But,
actually, even better is to start with queen a7.
Okay.
And then play knight b5 next. I'm not sure why, actually. Let me think. Seems even Steven to me. I can't really see the difference. Computer line again, so I just blindly trust it and believe it. Okay, so once again, you have to be super sharp, super aggro. Now back to the game, which was knight fd7 here. Your turn.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not going to test you on this one. We need to take this now.
Yep.
Okay, bishop takes, knight e4. Hitting the bishop with the tempo. It has to go back. And now, what do we do? It's all about attack, attack, attack. Did I say attack?
Yeah.
Enough times? Okay, good. Just checking.
So I'm looking at a queen move, would be one most aggressive, but I don't think I want to put it on f3 because then it's bishop b7.
No, f3 is definitely counterintuitive now because you've got nothing on the f file.
Yeah. So
these two look acceptable, but given that he hasn't castled yet, you find often that you're just giving unnecessary tempos for them to build up a sturdy defense.
So if I play f5 now, then I give his knight the e5 square.
You do, but we don't care because we are going forward.
Okay.
We are going forward. f5, brilliant move. ef, and the obvious response is. See, that was my trick. I trapped you on purpose. I'm sorry, that was nasty of me. I wanted to teach you one very important thing with this, Dominic, and that is that there is never an obvious move in a position like this.
Okay.
Because there are always more than one avenues to attack. And in fact, there is a clever move here that I prefer over rook takes f5, which is a developing move.
Is it queen to h5?
Oh.
No, that will be a piece. Just ignore that suggestion, please.
I did. It wasn't as horrid as you thought it was, but it's not good. Look at what's not developed, Dominic. That's how we always roll.
The bishop.
Where could it go where it couldn't go before f5?
Oh, yeah, okay. f4.
Bingo. Look at that check coming in their face. If takes, bishop takes happens, then they won't be able to castle. Yeah, and once again, we're developing with tempos. Look at this beauty. All of the dudes are out. Look at that disaster. This is how chess needs to be played at all times.
Should have seen bishop f4 straight away. Yeah, that is the obvious move.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that at first sight you go like, okay, so after f5 he takes, the obvious move is rook takes, and then you realize bishop f4, and you go like, no, stuff that, not rook f5, bishop f4 is the obvious move.
Yep. Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, knight e5.
Mm.
Sadly, black is entitled to play good moves too.
Yeah. No, I think I want to move my knight.
Yes, you should.
So. And I don't want to move my knight anywhere but forwards.
Actually, I love that, but the sad news to you will be that you will have to go back.
So c3.
Because the only way to go forward would be knight g5.
Yeah, it's not good.
And to be perfectly honest with ourselves, it's not really doing much there.
Yeah,
Just kick it
c3.
out. It's either here or here. And both are okay. The book argues that knight g3 is stronger. c3 was the text.
Okay.
The idea with knight g3, I need to show you this because it's beautiful. Obviously, if they castle, then after knight takes f5, we have the upper hand. Because we are going to win one of the bishops for the knight. So if they play g6, then rook e1, knight c6. Actually, I would like to show you one more line here. After knight d7, bang. Takes, bang. Now we are threatening to win a piece by taking there and then taking this.
Oh, really? This is defended by the bishop as well, right? Bishop takes, then bishop takes. Oh, then knight. Okay, got it. Yep.
It's pinned, so
I see it.
Yeah. So f6 is forced, whereupon check, king here and rook here gives again us a picture that is basically worthy of a painting. I want you to stand like this in every single chess game you play. Every single piece is violently attacking your enemy's king. Okay, the knight is a bit of an outsider, but it's about to come in, okay? In such positions, you don't need to consider material at all. Like, it doesn't matter, because your forces are just so much more relevant than theirs, that even though technically the king is surrounded by defenders, they are all tied down. This it is bound to be a winning line for white. And a beautiful example again about how to play aggro chess. And so after knight c6, another stunningly beautiful and, by the way, rather irregular motif, knight d4. I keep on telling it to my students that anytime two knights are guarding each other, it's almost always awkward. A lot of amateurs feel very safe with this because they think, oh, it's cool because I get to replace the one with the other. It's very awkward because as soon as one gets attacked, the other one can't move.
I remember you showed me a very nice line in an endgame that I had where...
Yeah, I do remember that too. So remember this, that it's almost... Plus they are also on the same circuit, so they cover a lot of similar squares. It's not worth it, but black had no choice there. Knight d4. Outstanding stuff. Bishop c5 and c3. So now if bishop takes, pawn takes back would win the stuff, and any other case, happy days for white.
It's very strong.
They can take like this, but once again, we're opening diagonals, we're opening fars, we're opening fars, we are opening tactics like this. It spells disaster.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Back to the game. I will show you how that one went. White played knight c3 in the game. Castles, knight d5, bishop c5 check, king h1, queen b7, bishop e2, hitting here and threatening to regroup there.
Okay.
Knight bc6 and queen e1. So now you can see that this has got into a somewhat vague, messy position instead of a clear-cut advantage to white. And white did end up winning the game, but I would not call this position better. I would call this messy. And the reason why white won this was because he was a better player. So that basically tells us that it would have been somewhat more accurate to drop back here. But the bottom line is the same, that we just go crazy aggro all the time. Alright, now I will show you something that is very similar to what happened in your game. Because in this game that I'm showing you now, after bishop c5, knight b3, they didn't drop back there, they dropped back here. This is a more aggressive approach. king h1. f4 is
away.
the idea.
Yep. Yep.
Now, after something like h5, which all these geniuses are going to play to you, you still play f4. They will be very happy because they'll, wow, we can check in the knight, and you go like, okay, mate, whatever. Queen f3, b5, and e5. And you're trying to exploit the fact that you have got an e4 square, bishop b7, and knight e4.
You put yourself in a pin like that. Okay.
Yes, you do, because now this check is deadly.
Yes. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, this is very good stuff. Bishop out, rook out, occasionally rook up to cover f2, and happy days. This is not an attack, this is just a la la land. Don't play h3 unless it wins, okay? And now it doesn't, because after takes check you lose the queen. Okay, so be careful with that. But you have got cuties like queen here, and after that h3 is quite effective.
Okay.
But you need to cover f2 for that. Anyway, this didn't happen because they played after king h1 d6. Oh, sorry, d6. f4.
Yep.
Knight d7. And bishop d2, as per discussed before, yeah?
Not d3. Not e3, no.
I don't really like it. Sorry?
So you were saying, yeah, the plan here you were saying before is bishop d2, queen e2.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Okay, so bishop d2, castles, queen e2. There you go.
Yep.
So I give you an example variation here. b5, rook e1, bishop b7, e5. Take, knight d5, knight d5, bishop takes d5, and bishop g5 is a move that deserves an exclam with white strong attack. Suppose the idea is to come in here and then cement in the bishop and remove the defender from the f7 pawn.
Okay.
Okay. What it also does is that on occasions you will be able to take followed by check and then bring the rook up like this.
Yep.
So you have a lot of attacking potential. Here is what I'm trying to say. They played after queen e2 rook e8. The idea behind rook e8 is very often that they want to play e5 before you do.
Yep.
Rook e1 and e5 was forced. Any other way e5 wins for white here. Especially with the rook on e8 not guarding f7 anymore.
Okay.
Alright. Brace yourself, my friend. Ready?
Yep.
Very typical Sicilian attacking move. Although, typically it happens when the pawn is still back here, not on e5, it's g4. The simple idea behind it is to kick the defending knight out and give yourself again this attack.
Okay.
Now normally this is a miserable fail if it happens when black has already played here and they can take here. But the difference now is that this pawn move actually traps the knight on f6 because of the awkward layout of the black pieces.
Okay.
Quite spectacular. Don't be worried about weakening your king here.
Yep.
Okay, it's not gonna be subjected to any attack for the next 20 moves, which shall be sufficient enough for your attack to break through.
Okay.
They played knight f8. That's an ultimate way of admitting the failure of black setup. g5, just roll on. Knight d7, knight d5. It's a disaster. Like, this is an ultimate example of how not to play the Sicilian as black. Yeah, so now we achieved a monster knight, a monster attack, and black has got nothing. Nothing whatsoever. It's actually, like, I shouldn't really show you any more moves because it's so basic stuff. And now, you know, like, white is so winning that he even has time for stuff like this to come in here. This is not typical at all because you're supposed to play on this side of the board. But we're so winning that we can even stick in stuff like that. And they had to play this to prevent that. How sad is that?
Yep.
c4. I like the fact that white is playing on the whole board. But overall, I think it would have been more consistent with the position to keep on building this attack up with queen h5 followed by f6.
Yep.
c4, bishop b6, knight takes, queen takes. I mean, look at this. After 20 moves exactly,
yeah,
all the black pieces are in the back rank except for the queen that is on the 6th.
yeah.
That's when you go like, all right, I would like to quit chess for a week now because I need to get my act together. B4, bishop b7, cb, d5. So black is trying to come up with some counterplay, but in the end of the day now he's losing the game on the queen side due to the fact that his development is so backward. Let's not look at the rest. It was a whitewash. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And finally, although this is going to confuse the living heck out of you, I need to show you here the early b5 variations.
Yep.
Against which we still play bishop d3, but here comes a big difference. If they play queen b6, I actually agree with this book that recommends knight f3. Normally, we drop back to b3.
Yep.
What you need to know about the knight on b3 is that this is the most useless piece under the sun. And that is the reason, the only reason why we drop back is because we can't leave it hanging, and after bishop e3, bishop c5 is super annoying.
Yep.
But we really hate the guts of this move, and more often than not, as soon as we can, we go back to d4. And so people started to look for different options, and they figured out that knight f3 actually has more venom to it because it supports this.
Okay.
On occasions, as well as having another extra few goodies about it. Black dropped back to c7, not wanting to face bishop e3 with the tempo. Castles, bishop b7. Please know that one of the main motives in this line is that we play an early rook e1, which is very non-Sicilian-like. It is extremely rare in the Sicilian that we play like this, because almost always we play for f4, in which case the rook stands on f1 excellently well.
Yep.
What do you think the idea is behind rook e1?
Well, you've got your knight on f3 unusually, which means that you're not going to play f4 so quickly, so it's not so beneficial to have your rook on f1 anymore.
No. What you're saying is correct, but I'm hoping for a dramatically different answer that is based on aggressive attacking ideas.
Is it to play just e5?
No, but that's part of it. Is that we're supporting this, but there is another thing that we really badly want to do, which is a very stock standard Sicilian attacking motif, Dominic, and you probably don't know it yet. It's knight d5.
Ooh. Yeah, okay. The knight.
Okay.
Black knights. Yeah, yep.
Okay, so it supports knight d5 motifs a lot. Okay, an example, if they play knight f6, e5, now knight d5 obviously is useless. E5, knight here, bishop f4, f6, bishop back to guard the bishop, beautiful move, fe, and knight g5. Hanging, has to go back, and there's a nice tactics here, bang. The reason why this move is good is not because it pinches a pawn, it's because it then threatens with check.
Okay.
If anything takes, then queen h5 is game over, which I'm 100% sure you saw. There's a bit of an uncertain silence on your end.
Yeah, you're too confident in me.
No, I'm just being a bit of a douche, but yeah, it's kind of obvious that we need to come out this way, and then that is hanging. Bishop h4 is going to cause trouble there. So they actually didn't take it. They played d6, allowing check. And when this happens is when you know that the game is in the pocket. Knight e4, eliminating this knight so that bishop h4 is going to hurt. Yep. d5 and knight g5, and they gave up the game because e5 can't be protected.
Wow. Nice.
It was a 2500 grandmaster who lost like this is black. 18 moves.
Wow. Yep. Nice attack.
Indeed. Alright, so after rook e1, oh sorry, actually after castles, bishop b7 is best. Rook e1 again. A bit of a stock standard stuff.
Yep.
And please note that almost always we aim to play for a4. Okay, so this is a top move that we always like to play because we want to expose their queen side before they get to finish development.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to get to it now. Bishop c5, and they played here something ridiculously strange. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's so ugly. I don't want you to see it, even though technically it's a good move, and it was played by Mickey Adams, who used to be top 5 in the world. He played here queen d2. I absolutely hate this move, despite of all its merits, because it's just everything that I don't like to do. The idea behind it is that A, he wants to develop the bishop here, and B, occasionally he wants to play queen g5, putting awkward pressure there. But I want to show you what this whole line is about, and in order to demonstrate that, I would like to show you a line like this. Bishop d2, knight f6, a4. This is the core of what we are really aiming to do in this line. Knight back, hanging this, and when they guard it, you play c3.
Okay.
And after takes, both knight takes in, bishop takes are good. I would be actually inclined to take with the bishop. And now this bishop is a brilliant piece on the long diagonal. And the main idea is to bring this rook across here and cause havoc on the c file.
Okay. The a2 knight looks a bit out of play.
It does look a bit out of play, but actually it supports b4, which is brilliant. And yeah, the c file pressure is going to be well worth it. I'll show you another example which followed a very similar path.
Yep.
Which went b5, bishop d3, and then not queen b6, but bishop b7, castles, then queen b6,
Yep.
then bishop e3 now is playable, bishop here and knight ce2. Okay, now this is quite nasty from white's point of view because sometimes you have a threat of b4. And if the bishop takes, then various knight jumps like knight takes here or knight f5 is very painful. Knight f6. Guess what we are going to do? Well done, b4.
Okay.
Just like I announced. And black has to give up the bishop. Yep. Okay, so takes knight f5 is not going to be a happy day for black. Hitting here, hitting here. Yeah, it's no go. Bishop takes, queen c7. And a fantastic, very, very nice attacking concept, which totally ignores the fact that this is hanging, and I really like that because we should be dictating what's happening here. c4. Okay, otherwise b4, this pawn structure is super ugly. If you don't get to play c4, it's a disaster, like it was in one of your games that we looked at before, if you remember. c4. What do you think we'll do if they take it?
Rook c1.
Correct. Very good. If they take rook c1.
Yep.
Okay, and we have got a violently vicious attack here happening big time. Alright, so they didn't even take it. They played e5, bishop b2, knight c6, tuck tuck, and knight c3, hitting there. Knight d4, bishop takes b5, castles, bishop d3, thank you very much, we want a pawn, get out of our game.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. You showed me a huge amount of lines here, and I'm not sure I can remember them. Is it
I don't expect you to remember them, and actually, what I showed you here were lines, but you should look at them as motifs.
Motifs, okay. Yep.
I don't expect you to memorize all this. Technically, there is a tool here that turns it into a study.
Yeah, I think you can. Is it like an export mode or something?
See, if I click on Save to Study, it should do it, but it doesn't. I struggle with it. I've been struggling with it lately.
You see how there's like a PGN down the bottom? Does that capture all the lines that you...
It should, yes.
No, it looks very small. Yeah, that's only the main line, right?
Yes, that's right. That's the problem with this, that it, I think, only captures the main lines. I don't know. I don't know how to put this in the study thing, because I used this before, where I
There's so
went
much.
to save to a study, and then all my studies popped up, and then I just saved it there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pity. I'd like to go through it. Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm definitely going to upload this, so we will have it in a YouTube
Okay.
format.
Okay. Great.
But
Great. Great.
that is definitely not the way to solve our problems. And
Yep.
as you know, I normally would give you a file. I don't
Yep.
have one on these, I
Yep.
don't think, which
Okay.
is awkward. So probably that's a good reason for us to upload it after all.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to do this thing. Yeah. And see, it starts to work. See that? It's thinking.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
it's...
try another browser. See if Leeches works better for you in another one.
Yeah, I don't think I have got Firefox installed on this computer though. Oh, I do. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give this a crack later on, and we might switch to Firefox for the future. Okay?
Yep. Yep.
Alright, let's not suffer with that now anymore though. I wanted to have a look at, very briefly, at your games. By the way, your puzzle solutions are correct, as per said.
Okay.
So have you
Great.
moved on to the next lot?
Yeah, I am moving on. I'll send you the next pages when I've done a little bit more.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
No, no, I'm kidding, Dominic. I know that life has got more to it than chess. It
Yeah.
shouldn't, but it does.
Actually, I wanted to ask you a question about the most recent game I played.
This one here.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
I don't think you will need to ask questions. I'll tell you right away.
Okay. I think
No, fire away, please. What's the question?
so. I played C4, right?
Yes, you shouldn't have.
Yeah, and
Because
I
the rule of thumb was here. Remember, I told you that if they castle into it, then this is really nasty.
only if they've castled. Okay, okay.
Correct. And therefore, your correct move here is b5.
Yeah, I thought. All right.
Have I given you a file on this, Dominic?
You have. But the one that you gave me is in the line where we've already swapped off black bishops, and in that position after it's.
No. That's a totally different story. Don't even confuse that. But what do you mean we have swapped up black bishops? Like where?
So it's
Here.
after like. No. It's earlier on in the. You gave me a file on a line that has instead of
So
bishop g5 at this position. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but that's totally irrelevant anymore, because remember that we're playing the McCutcheon, so we are not playing bishop e7.
Yeah.
So essentially, you can put all of these lines into the bin. Well, you shouldn't, and you don't, because they represent value on your computer, but we're playing bishop b4 here, so all of those lines are irrelevant. But I'm pretty sure, and when I say that it means 50-50 at best, I have given you a line on this.
I was just looking for that and I couldn't find it.
Alright, so see, this is where the I'm pretty sure translates to I either did or I didn't, so it's 50-50. Let me just
Okay.
look it up for a second, not because I don't trust you, but I like to face my own shortcomings. No. Doesn't look like it.
Hmm.
No, that's the No, I did not. Right, okay. I got busted again, so I will.
Okay, thanks.
I will send you stuff. But we did look at a game, I remember. In fact, we did look at two games. One of them was Rajabov Kaspar, and the other one was the Morozevich game where he played c4. And that's what I told you, that make sure that when they castle, you push it in.
After the castle. Okay.
Yeah, because now it's way too early. So what it does, Dominic, is that it releases the tension on d4, so it allows them to focus fully on their attack.
Yep.
And your attack is not going to attack anything because they're going to castle here.
Mm.
Okay. Alright, let's have a look how it went. Yeah, this is not looking good by any means.
Mm.
I think that capture was a bit early. I would have preferred to play something like g3. Okay. Take, bishop e2. Okay. I see, once again, I reckon g3 would have been far better, because that allows them to do the same while blocking this check.
Yep.
Not so sure about this, to be honest. Okay, let's see. Back, bishop h3, b4, knight d1. Castles here. I quite like the way how you're playing this part of the game, by the way. I would have considered bishop e7 followed by castles here. Because if they don't castle now, your castle is going to prevent theirs.
Yep.
And you would be very happy to see them castle there because that's castling into death.
That's it. Yep. Yep.
And if they do castle here, then you can still swing around and castle here if you like. Because bishop e7 is pretty much the only way how the bishop can develop, so it's not like you're wasting your time on that. Okay. Now this was a moment, Dominic, where I was a little bit sad about your next move.
Okay.
Do you remember?
Remember.
So you played this.
Yep.
And that was a sad move. Like, okay, rook f7, what does it do? Let's not look for very deep things, Dominic, here.
Yeah, it's threatening like a g5, bishop g5.
No, it's not threatening with bishop g5, Dominic. Not at all. It's threatening with this.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? I don't know the panic about why the panic about bishop g5.
The knight's protecting it, yeah.
No, more often than not, Dominic, chess is simple. Rook f7 threatens the g7 pawn, so you guard it.
Okay.
And then you play rook f8. I was borderline shocked when I saw this because I'm going like, isn't this hanging?
Yeah, for some reason I didn't think that pawn was important. I did say that he could take it, but I was like...
Oh yes, it is very important. All of them are important. We are in an endgame. You can't allow such thing to happen. And it's also impractical to allow the rook to roam the 7th, because rook g8 guarantees that next you will swap it off. I've got 2 active pieces. You are about to be able to swap one of them off. You don't miss out on such thing, especially not when you are giving away a pawn for free without any benefits whatsoever.
I thought that having the open F file might be beneficial.
You do have the open F file regardless of whether this goes or not.
Regardless. Of course. Yeah.
It's exactly my point. You take control of the open F file next move, totally irrespective of what they do, because this rook is 55 kilometers away.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's an endgame, Dominic. You have time. So you don't need to rush things.
Yep.
Patience, patience, patience. Luckily, you managed to conjure up some counterplay here, which was really good. The next thing I didn't like was this. So where are we going with that? Assuming that they are not going to blunder their bishop on h3. What's the goal? Rook f3, bishop g2, where will we go? Or what's the plan?
I think what actually happened is I put my rook back, and then he played h3, right?
Yeah, I know what happened, but what I'm asking is why? Like, what is the point of this move? I'm struggling to grasp what your plan is here. What I'm trying to say in my very clumsy way, Dominic, is that I have a bad feeling that you don't have one.
Yeah.
This is a random move, let's attack a piece and then we'll go from there, which is the ultimate thing that I'm arguing against all the time.
Yep.
You must have a ton of time in this position. You are playing 15-10, we're up to move 25, you have plenty. Find a plan.
Yep.
Whatever it takes. And it's not easy to find a plan, partly because you allowed this rook in your face, so it's very difficult now to double up on the F. This is awkwardly pinned, and due to the fact that the position is fairly closed, it's difficult to get around.
Yeah, maybe something like h5 would be better here. Oh, sorry, a5.
I was looking at that, but it's difficult to call this a plan.
I
mean, okay, pawn up, it gains some space. It's always very good to gain space in an endgame.
Yep.
So sign me up, yeah, Cool. All good.
Mm.
Excuse me. That looks already far better than many other things we could do. You can
Yep.
think about sacking this pawn away at one stage and plant the knight in on c4.
Mm.
Because that would essentially mean that this could be a target later on.
Yep.
Okay, so that's another way to go. I don't mind it either. You
Yep.
could opt to swap off this pesky rook,
Mm.
which has
Yep.
got some benefits. It's slow, whatever. But this one, I'm just not saying where are we going with this. They just sent us home. We wasted literally 2 moves because this bishop stands a hell of a lot better here than here.
Okay.
And it's their turn again. So basically what you allow them to do is to consolidate this pawn structure here. Now it's a protected pass pawn. Yeah, these 2 moves were absolute disaster as far as what happened in the position. So
Yeah.
against a better opponent, you would not be able to recover from something like that. No way.
Yep.
Because this is pretty much the phase of the game where it's gonna be decided.
Yep.
And this is where you really, really need to dig in and find a plan.
Okay.
I mean, actually, granted, to some extent it was decided here because you just gave away a pawn for no apparent reason. But yeah, that was still not the worst of it. And you still could have come back. And in fact, you did.
Mm.
Okay, that was a spectacular suicide on your opponent's side. Back there, that's very good. Rook b1, king a8. You played this part of the game brilliantly well, by the way.
Mm.
So the credit is due. I didn't get this exchange sack. As much as I am all up for sacrifices and playing spectacular chess,
Yep.
I don't understand why we don't take this. It's a free pawn. It's a free pawn that you can take with a tempo, allowing you to create a monstrous pass pawn. Why would you? Why would you even think about anything else?
I think tactically I just thought that he would take my knight here, but of course his rook's hanging. I think I just missed it.
Well, what I'm thinking more is that you miss the fact that after rook a1 knight before bishop takes here, instead of recapping and losing that, you actually have this winning the rook here.
You're right. You're right. Yes, I did look at rook back. Yeah, that was.
But this is so much not possible, Dominic, that you would miss tactics like knight b4 hitting here.
No, I miss stuff like that all the time. But yeah, I did miss that.
That's sad face.
Yeah, yep.
Big time sad face. And to be perfectly honest,
yeah,
even if you do blunder it,
yeah,
this variation is actually rather tempting for black because you have a monster knight, you have a pass pawn,
yep,
and you have this floating already. And the 2 rooks are going to be horrendously active on the 7th and the 8th, which is probably the main reason why this doesn't work. Yeah, actually check here, check is very disturbing. So probably we'll have to scratch this. But yeah, somehow you are definitely not happy with what's happening at the moment. And you went for an aggressive solution, sort of. But this was definitely doable and should have been done. It's a great pity we missed that. Rook f8 there, knight took then back. You have some play here too. But it's nowhere near good enough. And against correct play, you would die here very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, why he wouldn't play something like knight out here and just bring their pieces beats me. Knight c2. Okay, so yeah, alright. Now we're definitely fully back in the game because he keeps on blundering everything away. And from here on, you played a very good game all the way to here. Right, so rook g2, excellent move, threatening to push. Our opponent comes here, which, by the way, Dominic, when you played rook g2, and I keep on telling you this, you must have an idea about what your opponent is going to do against every single move you make.
Yeah.
So when you played rook g2, you knew, or if you didn't, then please stand in the corner for 5 minutes, that he was going to play rook h7.
Yeah.
Was it really our plan that after rook h7 we will go back here?
Yeah, I need to stand in the corner because I didn't see.
Yes, you do need to stand in the corner anyway, because at one point It just
Yep.
didn't work where it really should have. And what I suspect is that you didn't see this.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad, because what it tells me is that you thought that this was like game over here, or what?
I had the
So,
plans in
so
mind that you
what
played
did
some.
you expect? Is what I'm trying to get to. Handshake or Rook
No.
C7 or King F1, those moves make sense, some.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Um.
this is screaming obvious. I mean, Rooks behind passed pawns, yeah? This is something that you would have heard from me
Mm,
infinite times. But the worst part of it, Dominic, is that even if you didn't see it, there's no
yep.
way that this is the best answer to that.
Mm,
So let's come up with a chess move here that looks more like, we know what we're doing rather than this.
um. Well, the my A pawn could I just start pushing that?
You could, but there is a very clever way to prepare for that here.
Probably regret that. The other move that I considered in the game before I decided to go back was knight, my knight on the sixth rank, taking the pawn.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, except for the fact that essentially what it does is it swaps pawns.
Yeah,
And that's the
and that's a
last thing you want to do in an endgame with very limited material.
yeah.
Yeah, so have a look at this dude, Dominic, for a second. I
Mm,
mean, look at how many squares are taken away from this bishop where it can't go.
mm.
That really encourages us to hassle that piece.
Yeah, yep, yep, yep. So now I'm looking at rook g3.
Bingo! I mean, look at it. If I go back here,
Yeah,
it's a straight path to victory. Nothing is stopping that pawn anymore. Even more ridiculous, if it goes back here, you actually trap it.
okay, yep.
That's it. Done and dusted. The worst thing you can do is to stay passive and just muck around here doing nothing at all. See how in these two moves, all your advantage is gone?
Yeah,
Like we went from 1.7 to none. That's a shocker in an endgame like this.
okay.
Even though I tend to disregard these assessments of the computer, especially in an endgame, but you
Yep.
see that you can't play chess like, oh, okay, let's go there. Oh, shoot, I didn't see that. Let's go back.
Mm, mm.
You are far better than that. So we have to eliminate these minor errors in your endgames
Yep.
and in general in your game, because they tend to be costly. Luckily, it didn't hurt you at all in this game.
Mm, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what your opponent was doing in this game, but I'm very happy with the outcome.
Mm.
And then he decided to call it quits here. I mean, let's face it, A3 is winning, this is winning, everything is winning. Good job. Well, overall, despite of the ridiculous amount of crap that I've given to you, this was a good game.
Okay, okay.
One of your best French efforts so far.
Mm.
It had quite a bit of consistency in it, and no major blunders. And most importantly, it was not utterly passive like many of them used to be.
Mm. Yep.
So that was a goodie. Your game analysis was spot on. There was
Yep.
one thing that I wanted to show you that you didn't mention in the analysis that I would have loved to see.
Yep.
When you have a scenario of opposite castle kings, more
Yep.
often than not what happens is that we attack on one wing, they attack on the other. Yeah?
Yep.
But there is a
Yep.
plan B, which is that we fight in the center.
Mm.
Okay? This move creates a very awkward scenario normally, minus this check, that you need to keep in mind. Okay,
Yep.
so as soon as we dodge that check, whether it be queen here, hitting here, forcing them away, and then f4,
Yep.
or in any other way, but you should keep that in mind that this is not your only playground. You can play in the middle, especially because one of the major flaws of this setup for black, if I can say that, is that they don't have central pawns anywhere.
Yep.
And so if you can exert pressure in the center, it's going to be rather difficult for black to dodge it with decent moves. So
Yep.
obviously f4 here is an epic blunder, but then you can start thinking about how you can make it work.
Yep.
Okay, the rest of it was good, so I don't really want to give you grief for that. I didn't understand why it ended in a very early and unjustified draw.
He left the game, and I had the option of claiming win or draw. We only played a few moves, so I just thought draw.
You are far too much of a gentleman, Dominic. You need to stop doing that. Especially with people you don't know.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one. Okay. Until now, beauty. Well done. Loving it. Look at the assessment. Minus 1.5. Now is the time to start to think about how we go on, because development has been finished, minus the 2 rooks.
Yep.
Do you know where your rooks should go?
I really like the idea of taking the open B file.
Okay, you didn't, just for the record.
Yep. But I do think that would be one of my rooks would belong.
So you want to play rook b8?
Followed by something like C4.
Okay. So I castle here, you play c4. What do you think white is going to do?
Probably defend his bishop, rook b1 or something.
Good job, knight d4 indeed, because it just gave up a giant central square which we can never ever take control of. It guards the b3 square and it supports their f5 attack. No, we don't do this. No way, Jose. Okay, it has got its merits. Rook b1 stands well, c4 pressurizes that, but when you see that it basically livens up all of his pieces, you go, nah, stuff this. I can do better than that. So, okay. The bottom line is, Dominic, that do you know where the rooks belong? No, you don't. Because there is no open file, and the only semi-open file turns out to be useless. So, there are 2 good ways to continue the game from here, and both of them require a drastic change in the pawn structure, and in fact one is more than likely will be followed up by the other. You can play d4 here, trying to capitalize on your extra white squared bishop that they do not have. Because by playing d4, you made a fair few white squares weaker, which technically could become outposts for white pieces, except they can't because your bishop and your queen are slaughtering those squares.
Interesting.
And then queen e4, bishop back, and you are just roaming on these white squares like crazy and you're killing them. Like right now, they actually have to castle, otherwise after queen e4, they won't be able to castle in this game anymore. And even after castles, I would seriously consider queen e4 being an absolute pest, and then drop back here, and then f6, by which I arrive at my other point, which is that you want to crack it open for your bishops. But I would not play f6 without playing d4, because d4 also restricts the bishop's scope, so after f6 there will be less or fewer ways for white to play against the weak and dark squares. Okay, you have got 2 bishops, you need to crack it open.
Right.
So let's crack this one open, so that we'll have a long diagonal to checkmate on, and then let's do this. They must take, you take back. Guess what our next move is gonna be? Faster, 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 faster. Let's crack it open.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Not d3, that was a mistake.
No? Okay.
No. Although actually this is a winning threat now, so for the record d3 does win here tactically, because if bishop takes we win there, as they lose the bishop. So let's assume they got it. e5.
Yep.
Okay, crack it open. Takes, 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 and now we're 1 move away from a dream scenario where our 2 bishops, with the help of the queen and the rook, are going to absolutely butcher white, whose bishop is a sad bystander and the knight is useless. Okay, this is how you build an advantage into an even bigger advantage, eventually into a winning position. Okay, rook 8 d8, ultimate sign to me, you have no plans whatsoever. And you are not sure what to do. because this does not support or help anything that we have discussed, or anything else for that matter. You play d4 and you 100% don't need a rook here for that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
You're correct.
See, you are eventually you have found the correct plan. So that's very good. I really would have preferred to take it back with the bishop, because then e5 is going to be unstoppable. So granted, of course, this rook should be here for that, but whatevs. Okay, pawn took, bishop b7. So my concern now is that there are a couple of weak squares that they may be able to exploit.
Yep.
So we have to be a little bit careful. I'm not sure about this. Okay, God, it's something important, so let's go with it. f5. Okay. Let's see, e4. e4. Funnily enough, it seems to me that this is capturable, right? I love the way how you wanted to build up this beautiful pawn structure, and I would be all up for this if it was not for the fact that you blundered into this at one stage, probably right here.
Yeah.
And then check. So here actually take seems to be winning on the spot, because if takes, queen takes, then this knight is very awkwardly hanging. And if they come here, you always have the chance to sack it back and create a weakness in their camp. Yeah, so this is how it... Now we use their own medicine.
Yep.
Well, they can check down pieces, we can too. If knight g3 f4, if queen g2, then bishop takes f3. Thank you very much. Yes, we don't win a piece, but instead we won the game. I'm good with that.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we missed a few wins here, and then eventually it turned very sour. But I wanted to point out to you that the problem is that now you are a good enough player, Domenic, to get to positions like this, which are far superior. But now we need to add that extra element to your play, when then you can build up the correct plan and execute it convincingly. And you did find it with a slight delay. So that is really, really good and needs to be acknowledged and credited. But still here, I don't think that this is the good recapture. I think that this would have been better followed by e5. It's a lot cleaner. And the fact that you need to be constantly, all the time, tactically alert, so that we don't fall into junk like that when we have a win instead. And when that happens, these two ratings are going to swap here, and Icarus is going to drop down to 2000, and you are going to pocket all those juicy rating points. Alrighty. I'll call it off, Domenic, here. A solid 20 minutes beyond our time. Sorry. No worries. We'll make it very difficult to upload, but whatever. I'm guessing I'm going to see you same time next week.
Yeah, if that's okay with you.
Oh, totally. Good. Make sure that you're winning lots of chess games in the meantime.
I liked what I did last week, which was one game per day and no more than that, and looking more at them afterwards. So I'm going to continue with that plan, if you agree with that.
Oh, totally. I'm fine. If you have more time, I'm not saying not to play. You remember, I just want to rigorously have you into that routine of play, check. Especially if things go pear-shaped. So that's the idea. Alrighty, I will send you that French file too at one stage if I get around doing it, which I hope I will.
Awesome.
And then it will be set. Alright, thank you, Domenic. Catch you later, mate. Thank you, bye.
Bye.